Okay, so today we're going to be doing the double heart fold. I'm working with a 100% cotton shirt. I've already have it center folded, just like this. Okay, so what we're going to be doing is I drew my heart around here with a washable magic marker. And then down here on this end, I have my other heart that I've drawn with a washable magic marker. We've drew the heart. Now we're going to put the glue stick. The glue stick is what's going to cause that separation from the color you're putting here and the color that you're making on the heart. You're going to have a nice white defined line. So we're going to go ahead and put our glue stick all around the heart. Okay, so now we have our glue around this outer part of this heart and the glue on the outer part of this heart. Now we're going to take our forceps. We're going to find the curved forceps and we're going to put it on this part of the heart, and this is going to define your line for the heart. We're going to take the curved one, we're going to scrunch it up, gather it up just a little bit. All right, we're going to close our forceps. We're going to take a straight forceps and we're going to put it on the bottom so it defines that line at the end. You don't want to put too much material in the forceps, because sometimes if the forceps, there's too much pressure on it, it's going to snap and it's going to spring, and it could cause damage to your face depending on where it hits you. All right, so now we're going to take the bottom heart, close that one. We're going to take and we're going to gather our material, and we're going to keep this red line. It's going to eventually be all in line and straight. All right, so let's gather all this. Just keep pulling the material until your line gets straight. And just pull it on around till you can see that straight line. All right. Now what we're going to do, we're going to put a little rubber band at the end of the heart right here just to hold it in place. And get our rubber bands here. All right, we're not going to make the rubber band too, well, let's try doing one more time. Sometimes if you get the rubber band too tight, it makes your material pucker up too much. All right, so that's the end of that. We're going to take our rubber band now. This part is a little tricky because you do have the forceps you got to go around. And we're going to get the rubber band and try to line it up with the red line. All right, so you can see the red line. We have the rubber band lined up right there. All right, so now we're going to take and we're going to do it the same process to the other side. Okay, so we have our hearts. We have the rubber band holding the end of the heart. We have the forceps for our defined lines for our heart. We have a rubber band here and here, and then on this side we have our other heart. We did the same process here. What we're going to do now is we're just going to pleat this up. You can scrunch the sleeve up if you'd like. We're just going to put rubber bands around the whole thing. Okay, so we've got our rubber bands all on. um, this end and this end. We got our hearts. We got it all folded up, rubber band, and it's all ready to go now. Today is heart dyeing day. So here is some of my other baby shirt that I folded. These are my little hearts. I have 12-month here. These are single hearts. So you can see I have the forceps on here. I have a 12-month here. I've got my forceps on. I've got my rubber band lined up with the red line. I'm dyeing my little baby shirts. What I'll do in this bottle is I'll put just a teaspoon of my Dharma dye in cold water and mix it up in the bottle. In a separate container, I'll mix hot water with a little baby teaspoon of my dyer salt, and then I'll just combine the dyer salt solution with the dye and mix it up in the bottle, and that's what is gonna that's what I'll dye the liquid I'll use on the baby dye. Okay, so now we have our double heart. We have the one heart on this side of the shirt, and we have the other heart on this side of the shirt. We're going to take our little baby spoon. Going to make sure it's clean. We're going to take our first color. Our first color is red. And I do have my safety glasses on, and I have my mask on. Okay, so we're going to sprinkle the red on first. The more color you use, the less white you use. All right. Okay, now this is your line right here. You can see the red magic marker. So we don't want to go over this line. You can see the forceps right here. We want to stay on this side of the forceps because that's the definition of our heart. And over here you can see the red line. We want to stay on this side. And we never want to bring the dye right up to the line. We want to leave it back some because once the ice melts it, it's going to move forward. Okay, so let's finish putting our dye on. Okay, so that should be enough red. Just a little bit more over here. Okay, so now we're going to just put red on the other side. We're going to put red over here on our heart. We're going to stay on this side of the forceps. We're going to stay just a little back from the rubber band. We don't want our dye to spread too much. And you notice I have my forceps up a little bit. That's just so the dye doesn't run down. Just a little thing I do. Keep the forceps up high so the dye doesn't run on this side of the forceps. Okay, so now we're just going to sprinkle a little color wherever you want some red. Doesn't matter where you sprinkle it, it's going to turn out great no matter what. Alright, we're going to sprinkle a little red on the sleeve. Going to sprinkle a little red over here to give it a little extra color. And don't worry about getting your dye down in your baby pool or your container you have underneath your ice dye, because what we're going to do is we're going to place another shirt underneath to catch the drippings. We always want to reuse our dye any way we can. Don't want to waste no dye. Alright, so the next color, let me wipe my spoon off. The next color we're going to use is black. I like to use black next to red. It just makes the red look more vibrant. Okay, so we're going to sprinkle here, outside of our heart. I'm going to leave a little space of white between the red and black because that'll give them room to run together. And remember, we put our glue on the outside of our heart, so that way we'll have that white definition. Sprinkle a little black over here and a black over here. All right, so let's go to our other heart. So we're going to use brushed steel. Sprinkle that on. Put a little bit in the gray, in the black. All right, put a little. We've completed putting our powdered dye on. Wipe our spoon off. Now, for our baby hearts, I like to use the liquid dye. So we're going to put the liquid, would help if I took the cap off. Okay, so we're going to put, just be careful it doesn't squirt out on you. Now these bottles I bought from Dharma Trading because they're specifically for tie-dye. You don't want to use no cheap bottles because then you take a chance on the dye leaking out of the seal right here. So if you get your bottles from Dharma Trading, you're going to get some good bottles. So I got the red on my heart. I'm going to put a little bit of red over here. Now normally I would separate these, but these are all going to be red and black, so our colors, it's going to be okay to dye them close to each other. All right. I like white on my shirt, so I don't put a whole lot of color on there. Okay, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it the same thing to these two little hearts. Okay, so now we're going to put our ice on the ice dye. We're just going to put one layer on. Okay, so I've got my layer of ice on it. If you see after the ice melt that you still have a lot of dye that really hasn't dissolved, you can add an extra couple ice cubes if you would like. Now, one other thing I'd like to do is I like to add some dyer salt. When we mix our solution up with our liquid, we put dyer salt in here. So it's kind of the same thing. I want dyer salt on in my process, so I'm going to take my baby spoon and I'm going to sprinkle. It's good clarity too. Makes your dye nice and beautiful. Enhances it. Okay. So now we've completed that. So what we're going to do is we're going to let this dye sit overnight, and then tomorrow we'll rinse it. All right, so these are our baby heart shirts that we had. These were liquid dye. So when you do liquid dye, there's not a whole lot. The shirt absorbs most of the dye. So these really don't take that long to rinse. Not a lot of dye comes out when you use the liquid dye. So what I'll do now, I'll go ahead and take the forceps off, and I'll take the rubber bands off. All right, so now we have our little baby hearts all rinsed out, and look at these cute little shirts. This is our liquid dye hearts. And now we have our ice dye double heart that we're going to rinse out. So we're going to leave the forceps and the rubber bands on while we're rinsing it. All right, so now what we're going to do is it's running pretty clear when we rinse it. We're going to go ahead and we're going to take our forceps and our rubber bands off. All right, so we've got our last rubber band we're taking out. So we're going to get our hose and we're going to spread it out and rinse it. And hopefully we've got a double heart. We'll have to see how it turns out. It's always a mystery. My shirts are for sale. You can always send me an email. Let me know if you want to buy one or not. All right, so we're unfolding our shirt. Just going to rinse it a little bit more. All right, let's see what we got here. Ooh, we got our beautiful heart. Beautiful heart. Let's see where our double heart ended up. All right, here's our heart on the top. And then, ooh, our heart is on the side. So when somebody is looking at you, they will see the heart on the side of the shirt as well. Isn't that beautiful? So you never know how your shirt is going to turn out. Let's go back and show you. What we'll do now is we'll wash it separately in a bowl, and then we will put it on in a bowl of fabric softener. Always soak your shirts in fabric softener so your customers see a nice soft shirt. Let me spread this out for you one more time so you can see. Beautiful. And what we'll do is we'll spin this dry and then place it in the dryer. Peace out, hippies.